From August roast to August toast, we talk about the turnaround for Austin FC next. Hey there, welcome to another episode of Final Whistle ATX. I'm Nick, along with Harley and Wyatt, and here we are at BD Riley's.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, boys. Welcome back, Nick.
Thank
back,
you.
Nick.
Yeah, it was a combination of vacation and then some work switch-arounds, but very grateful to Matt Mitchell for filling
Matt did an awesome
filling the
job.
Middle seat here.
One of
for
our
me while I
best
was
teases,
gone.
I think, we've seen. No offense to you, Nick.
No,
One
no.
of the best teases we've seen.
We are looking for a tease rider, a head tease rider. So I think Matt's going to fill
Minimal pay, but
fill the
if
shoes
you're a
there.
passionate Austin FC fan, you get a beer out
Maximum
of it.
satisfaction.
Absolutely. So we've got some exciting news about Austin FC to talk about, and that is what a huge victory
We got one,
it
guys.
was against Portland. We hope we can play Portland every week through the rest of the season. What did you guys think of the game?
Yeah, I mean, we just seem to be so much more aggressive. I think we saw Driussi in his natural position, and he controlled that entire game kind of quietly. Like, if he hadn't scored, he still would have controlled the game, but that goal kind of put his performance over the top. But my big takeaway is that we completely switched our playing style. I'm curious if we continue to do that or if it's something we just see against Portland. Maybe we have some sort of mismatch. But more importantly, I think we found the spot for Driussi, and that's what gets me excited.
Now, did we switch our playing style, or just our playing style works really well against Portland?
I don't know. Maybe Portland is just the team that Austin FC likes to play.
Yeah.
It's really nice. But yeah, to echo what Wyatt was saying, Driussi was great in that game. I think once again, Austin FC looks better with John Gallagher in the team. They just do. I think it's somebody that's likes to play so far forward and has that pace to get in behind, just adds an extra element. So that was really cool to see. And hey, a fired up Cecilio Dominguez after we kind of roasted him a little bit last week on the show when he had that early substitution. It's like night and day. It was like a completely different footballer this last week. So yeah, really nice to see him bounce back as well.
And a great game for Fagundes as well. I thought he
Always.
showed
Fagundes
really
as
well.
always, yeah. Fagundes and Ring are our two kind of, they're going to have, I think you said last week, 7 out of 10 every week, and that's just what they are.
Yeah.
But Cecilio, more than his play, actually looked confident and looked like he was having fun, which I don't think we haven't seen that in a while. Like, right off the get-go, he was like in it. And I know that sounds like, well, yeah, he's a professional athlete, but we haven't really seen that consistently all year. And that was really exciting to see, too. Right when he got that PK, he stepped up confidently. He kicked it confidently. I mean, there was no doubt in his mind that was going in, it felt like.
Yeah, I mean, he spends a lot of time on the ground. He's fouled a lot, too. But you wonder if referees are a little hesitant to give penalties his way if they've seen.
Well, it almost hurt him, even in the penalty, because they
Right.
didn't call it at first. I
Yeah,
think because
and
they knew,
took
Cecilio's
VAR,
on the ground. Yeah.
and then
I'm
that,
sure that there's a secret referees guild, and they meet like underground somewhere each week in like MLS towers or something. And one of the top conversations every week is, don't get fooled by Cecilio Dominguez when he goes down and then looks at you like, why haven't I had the free kick?
The funny, he came down and he looked up, and then no one saw anything, so he went right back down. It was the funniest thing I've seen in a while.
Who are we most looking forward to, designated player-wise, as we look toward the second half of the season? We're already into a few games into the second half of the season now. Which designated player are we most excited about?
I think there's reasons for optimism for all three. They've had up and down seasons throughout, but I think since Driussi's gotten here, we've probably seen the best out of all three of them up to this point. So who am I most excited for? I want to say Pochettino, but I actually think I'm kind of more concerned for him because the way Driussi played is I think what we were hoping Pochettino would bring the whole year. So I know Driussi is the easy answer. He's the new toy that we have, but he's so clearly the best player on the field when he plays, and he affects the game in so many different ways. He's incredibly fast, but we haven't even really seen that yet. It's only in spurts, but the way that he affects the game is something that we haven't seen from any of our players yet. And that's not to take away from the other two guys. I think there's reason for optimism for all of them, but maybe it's because he's the shiny new toy, like I said, but for me, it's got to be Driussi.
But what if Driussi brings out that Cecilio every week?
Ooh, that would be really nice. That would be really nice. I would love to be a contrarian here, but I totally agree. It's Sebastian Driussi for me. I think when he signed, we kind of talked about he should be the best player in this team for the amount of money that he's worth and for what he's accomplished so far in his relatively young career still. He should be the shining light of the team. And I think through 3 games, we're starting to see that. And he's moved around a little bit, started kind of up front in probably not a natural position for him, as we've talked about before. But to see him play as the 10 behind the main striker this last week and pull the strings and link up really nicely with Alex Ring, it just showed like it's a really tantalizing look at what this team could be.
By the way, Alex Ring playing way up this week, something we haven't seen all year, and he actually was one of our most consistent attackers this week, which was, I don't want to say surprising. I mean, the guy can do it all. But I wanted to ask you, Harley, what do you think? We've only seen it a few times. But Pochettino, like I said before, Driussi is kind of playing the role we expected Pochettino to play of the attacking midfielder.
Oh, we're jumping in the tactics truck.
Well, it doesn't have to be. Well, I don't know. I guess you could call it tactics.
This is my favorite part of the
I guess
show.
my question is, where do we see Pochettino fitting in now? Because our midfield, you could argue, is the strength of this team, especially now that we've seen Ring be able to come up and attack the way he has and score headers. Where does Pochettino fit in there? Because clearly he's talented, but your boy Pereira, we're a different team when he's out there.
I love when we jump in the tactics truck. It happens like every 3 or 4 weeks, and it's like, this is my favorite thing to talk about.
I believe it's a tactics lorry.
Oh, really?
A tactics lorry.
Oh,
Yes.
apologies to everybody involved. I love the question because I have no idea what the answer is, and that's really exciting because when Austin FC plays well, it's really hard to think about who doesn't make the team because for me, Danny Pereira's got to play every week. I don't care, he just does. Alex Ring's got to play every week. Diego Fagundes is undroppable at this point to me. We just see it week in, week out. He's always very, very good. Driussi is, like we just talked about, I think he's the shining light of this team and has got to play every week as the number 10. And that only leaves 2 spots. You've got Cecilio, who on his day is a game changer, and we've seen the good of Cecilio a few times, and it's really, really good. John Gallagher, who I just hate to see on the bench because every time he plays, we're just better. We just are. And that doesn't leave space for Pochettino, who's a designated player, and it doesn't leave space for Moussa Djite, who's the most natural number 9. So I don't even know, Nick.
Diego Fagundes has been playing more of like a winger the last few months either. Yeah. Also, like not just a midfielder.
And I like him in that role. I like him in midfield or on the wing. I don't really care as long as he's on the field.
That's what's nice. A lot of our players are so diverse, especially seeing Ring being able to play up top. Cecilio's played all across the front. Driussi's played all across the front. So we kind of can do whatever we want, but I think Pochettino as a super sub would be kind of a, and that might be his best play.
This isn't a bad problem to have, though.
No.
We're getting a lot of guys back from injury. We're having more options, and as we continue to head toward the deeper part of the season, there's going to be some players that are a little leggy, maybe a little more exhausted, and now we've got not only some fresh signings, but also some fresh options that maybe there could be a little rotation happening.
Because that's been a problem for us thus far, right? I mean, in certain games, the last time we played FC Dallas, we had a lot of players who weren't used to starting because of injuries and people who were tired. So maybe that won't be as much of an issue now that we've seen guys play different positions and seen that they can succeed at those different positions.
I actually think Josh Wolf has a little bit of a challenge keeping all of those players happy, because to think that 2 of those players that I just talked about won't be in the 11, whether that's Pochettino,
and Stroud,
Gallagher,
not to mention Stroud,
Djite, all of those guys. He's got to find a way to work everybody in, give everybody a bit of a chance to play. It does keep the legs fresh, like you said, but Pochettino, I guarantee, wants to be playing. It's going to be really interesting to see.
Absolutely. Let's switch gears a little bit. At the end of the Vancouver loss, which most, if not all of us, thought was the worst Austin FC had played all year, and then we get this game, which is arguably one of their best, if not the best performance of the year, back-to-back. You had fans cursing Josh Wolf after the first game, the Vancouver loss, and now people are praising him now that he's wearing green and we're pulling away with a significant win. Are we a little too reactive as Austin FC fans to the result of the week rather than seeing the bigger picture of the gradual improvements or worsening, or however you want to put it? What do you guys think?
Are you going to put your weather hat on for this?
Yeah.
Are we looking at the forecast here?
Yeah, we're forecasting the fair weather fans right now. So.
I didn't know if you'd say
What do you guys think?
To answer this question, you only have to look in the neighborhood of Austin. What's the other team here, and how do we scrutinize that team? And that's UT Austin. And what are those fans like? And I'm not saying it negatively, but they're very passionate about their team. And after one loss, it's fire the coach. After one win, it's UT is back, baby. I mean, I think to fire Josh Wolf in his first year would be asinine. But it seems like a lot of the fan base wants to kind of do that every time they see him make a mistake or put somebody in the lineup that they don't think should be there. But it seems like we are developing a bit of a reputation across the MLS for being ultra passionate, I guess I could say.
I mean, I think we would be included in this because we were, in pain after the Vancouver game and then jumping off the walls after the last one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we sat here last week and talked about how bad things were and how we were bottom of the Western Conference, just lost to Vancouver and looked really bad. So, yeah, now we're saying, hooray, a good win. People that have lived in Texas for a long time, and I've lived here a while, I picked up this phrase, and I'm not going to do the accent, sorry, Wyatt, I know you want me to. But they say, if you don't like the weather, just wait 20 minutes, right? So last week it was cloudy, may even be a little bit stormy. Nick, I know that's something you follow very closely.
I love it when you talk weather.
Yeah, talk weather to me.
Nick's like, finally, my time is here. Talk about the weather.
Dark and stormy last week after the Vancouver game. This week it's blue skies, 90 degrees, and we're all out sunbathing on Zilker Park. So, yeah, things change all the time, and good results, bad results, that's just the way things are going to be. And I think it's cool to see so many people care about the team, to speak to what you were saying. And, yeah, we are fair weather fans, and I don't care.
Oh, well, we wear our heart in our sleeves on this show. All of us have predicted playoffs. All of us have predicted not making the playoffs. All of us have predicted Cecilio being the greatest player ever, and then he flops. That's what we're doing here, too.
Flops figuratively and literally.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this upcoming game. We're playing Dallas again. What do we think is going to happen out of this one? A game that'll be at 7 o'clock on Sunday evening.
My main thing is GT playing, which I think he is. Is he starting? He's probably not going to. I don't know. I'm just assuming. His first game in the MLS against an arch rival who already beat us within the same month. I would love to see GT see the field in the second half just to see what we have. But I think the expectations have to change, because of what we just saw against Portland. It didn't feel like a fluke win. We felt more confident, and we almost played a different style. It was not the possession-oriented style we usually play, even though I think we ended up winning possession that game. That was not our intent. That was not our sole intent. We really were going on the counter every time we could. So I hope we see a completely different game plan against Dallas. We're also going to see a different lineup, I'm sure. Berhalter's not going to see that game, I'm guessing. A handful of other players who played in that game aren't going to see the field that game. So I'm expecting a better result, and maybe it goes back to the segment we just did, but I'm expecting a win, and I know we're going to do our predictions later for the actual score. But, yeah, I'm expecting a win, and I'm expecting to see GT, and I'm really curious to see, does he look like he belongs? It's game one, but, I'm curious what we're going to see.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago that so many Austin FC fans drove up I-35 to see that game against Dallas, and what they saw was a rotated team, a not great performance, especially in the second half, and a pretty poor 2-0 loss. So I think there is pressure on the players that play on this weekend, and there's pressure on Josh Wolf to bring home a good result. And if you look at the table, Austin FC is... I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, but we are poised to make a playoff push because we have all these games against the teams around us, Dallas, Houston, Real Salt Lake again. So if there is a time to make a push, it's now. And after what we saw last week, yeah, we should be aiming for a victory. But equally, Dallas will see that as a game that they should win as well. So I think it's going to be a good game.
If we see this Portland win as a transformation and sort of a kick up the butt for some of the players that needed it, i.e. Cecilio, this Dallas game will be the real test as to, was that a changing game, the Vancouver game, the Vancouver loss and the Portland win, was that a significant change for Austin FC as a team, or was it a fluke if we go back to Dallas, or go back to playing Dallas at home at Q2 and lose again?
It depends. Are we going to see the same Cecilio that we saw last game, or are we going to see the Cecilio against Vancouver? Is Driussi going to play in the midfield, or is he going to play striker?
Will the real Cecilio please stand up?
Is Alex Ring going to play more of an attacking midfielder position? I mean, it's a lot of questions that we need to answer before we can figure out what it's going to be. But I got to say, I'm enthusiastic because I don't think none of us have been more down than we were after Vancouver. That was a winnable game. But really, it feels like Dallas kind of stole one from us in Dallas against our B team. I think you could make that argument.
Is it going to be tough for Musa, seeing how Driussi has settled in and is now a clear starter for Austin FC? People are going to be maybe expecting a lot from Musa as well as the other noticeable new figure in the team.
I'm going to pretend that you asked this question instead. Is it going to be hard for him to play with better players? No. It's going to be easier for him to play with better players. That's how I see it.
I think he's going to have high expectations, whether it's fair or not, and especially because Driussi came in so fast and performed so well. It has performed so well. We're going to expect the same thing from Musa. But Musa, in reality, doesn't have the same experience that Driussi had, and so I want to see if he looks like he belongs on the field in the MLS for Game 1, because the chemistry won't be there. But, I mean, also, if he's on the field, does that mean Cecilio was at left wing, Driussi's at attacking mid, Diego's maybe on the right side? We finally have kind of the pieces where we actually want them to be. And even if Musa doesn't play up to expectations, what does that do for those guys around him? I mean, that's kind of the question. He doesn't have to be great to open up the field for the rest of our guys.
I will say that when we see Musa for the first time, I do want to see him as a substitute when Austin FC is maybe already winning a game as opposed to chasing a game. I think that would take the pressure off his shoulders a little bit and the glare a little bit off him, and more of a a celebration from the fans rather than this is the guy who's going to get us back in the game on his debut in a new country.
Fair.
It would be cool to see him sub on. I think you'll get a standing ovation if he subs on, and that would be kind of cool.
Just because he made it over here finally. That's a lot of rowing.
Before we go, we're going to start doing official score predictions at the end of our episodes here, and then we'll follow up with them on the next episode to really lay it down to someone who was completely off, or congratulate the person or persons who guessed correctly. So let's start with you, Wyatt. What do you think? Dallas, Austin, score?
I've only had one beer. I think if I had three, my score prediction would be a little different. I predict a 2-1 win for Austin FC. I think FC Dallas shows up, and I think Austin FC shows up, and it's a really hard-fought game. And I think there's going to be a goal scored in the last 15 minutes of the game, whether that's FC Dallas or Austin FC, and someone's going to steal that game. I think it's going to be really hard-fought between two bitter rivals, and I think Austin FC can't wait for this game to show who they really are, because I don't think we showed it last time, and that means something when you're playing another team in Texas.
I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. I think we've improved since we last played Dallas. That would be an improved result, but I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves after our last game to say that we're going to be a completely changed team, because we're still a work in progress. Harley.
Yeah, I gaze into the crystal soccer ball, which is something that maybe we'll see again in the coming weeks, who knows. I gaze into the crystal soccer ball and I see a thrilling 6-goal game, a 3-all draw. I think we're going to learn this week that draws can be fun too. And I think that a 3-all, 3-3 draw is going to be a whole lot of fun. Both teams can score goals. Dallas have Pepe up front, the teenager, who's been a revelation this season. Austin is, touch wood, finding its feet in attack a little bit and scoring more goals. So, yeah, 3-3 at Q2 Stadium.
These are all very different results. I love it.
We'll see what happens this weekend. That game is at 7 p.m. on Sunday at Q2 Stadium. We'll be back next week for another episode of Final Whistle ATX. Don't forget, you can always watch our episodes on Facebook and KXAN.com as well. Anything else to add, guys?
Shout out BD Riley's for having us, if we didn't already.
Always good
Riley's
to be
the
here.
best. Yeah,
absolutely. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.